I'm working on a series where I want to explore sibling dynamics.
Yeah.
So, for example, the youngest son in the family versus the youngest daughter. I was pointing out that in your case, you have the experience of both now.
Yeah.
That's super interesting. So I was asking, what changed? Obviously, like you transitioned and you came out as like being trans, and of course, a lot of things changed. But what about in terms of the way that your parents treated you and the way that your siblings treated you?
Actually, the treatment that I got from my sister is the same because she's always been treating me as her little sister dari dulu ya.
Bahkan sebelum
Ya bahkan
transition?
sebelum transition. Actually, I came out to her
First.
first. Jadi kayak in my whole entire big family, dia yang pertama tahu. And her response was like, "Isn't it obvious?" Just that.
Oh, she was like, I know.
She was super cool with it.
Okay.
But anyway, yang dari abang aku sih yang kayak lumayan berbeda treatmentnya. The way mungkin dulu ya, he treated me as if I am his little bro.
Yeah.
Jadi pasti waktu kecil tuh kayak diajak main sepak bola bareng. Terus diajak nonton, let's say apa ya, dulu abang aku tuh suka banget Kapten Tsubasa and so on. Terus grew up, pastinya kan dia sadar dong kalau misalnya adiknya ini tuh gemulai.
Gemulai.
Gemulai as
What is
feminine.
That? All feminine. Gemulai. Itu bahasa apa itu?
Bahasa Indonesia.
Like standard bahasa Indonesia?
Yeah, in
like
that,
KBBI? Oh, okay. Gemulai.
Gemulai.
Okay.
Now you know.
Now I know.
He of course tried. Kayaknya even harder than my parents ya.
To be accepting.
No. To make me a masculine guy back then. Yeah. Terus kayak he really tried hard. Terus nggak lama kan after I think 2017 I came out to the family.
Yeah.
To my mom, dad, and then to him of course.
Yeah.
Terus kayak sekarang dia juga bener-bener, especially after all this breast augmentation and stuffs. Mungkin karena dia itu, so he's like 35.
Okay.
So
you're 26.
I'm 26 this year.
Yeah.
Jadi dia mungkin tahu ya cowok tuh ngeliat perempuan tuh seperti apa. Besides my dad, dia sekarang jadi salah satu laki-laki yang paling overprotective in my life.
Ooh,
yeah, my
okay,
brother.
Interesting. But before, when you were his little brother, gak se-overprotective itu?
Yeah, of course. Dulu kan dia pengennya kayak kamu harus bandel nih, kamu harus nakal gitu-gitu.
Harus gagah, harus.
Iya, terus ketika aku dari jadi perempuan kayak di shifting justru. Jadi kayak very overprotective and so on.
So you have mom, dad, 2 siblings. When you first came out, yang paling susah menerima itu siapa?
Sebenarnya bukan yang paling susah atau yang paling gampang ya, tapi mungkin yang layernya paling banyak. My mom. Yeah, my mom.
Interesting.
Mungkin my dad responnya yang paling kayak apa ya, paling duar gitu. Tapi setelah itu dia justru yang paling cepat accepting.
Oh, okay.
My mom responnya mungkin karena dia ibu, jadi mungkin it took her a while untuk mencerna segala sesuatunya.
Yeah.
Tapi setelah itu, setelah berbagai layer yang ada, aku tuh came out pertama kali tuh 2017.
Yeah.
Terus 2020 aku came out kedua kali. Jadi 2017 itu as a gay
man.
Yeah, as a gay man.
Yeah.
And then 2020 as a trans woman.
Okay.
Terus berarti kan 2017 sampai tahun aku tuh baru bener-bener living in peace together with them. Dalam artian kita udah bener-bener it is what it is itu 2021.
Okay, really not that long ago. How old were you in 2017?
I'm 18.
You're 18. Yeah.
I was
19. 18. Okay. In general, of course, it was, like that's totally fair. Like in the beginning, it was maybe like a little bit confusing, or it was a little bit difficult for them. But then eventually, like they really, like they're okay now, right? Like they're completely accepting of it. And I'm sure you've thought about it as well. How lucky you are that that is, the lucky final
and
outcome.
Blessed.
Yeah, immensely. Because I've thought about in another life, if I came out to my mother, the mother that I have right now, as a lesbian, as a trans man, or just anything that is not cis and straight, how do you think she'd kill me. No, I think she'd coret dari kartu keluarga. And like we're kind of laughing about it right now, but in reality, that's actually what happens, right?
Exactly.
I want to know, what is it in your opinion about your parents, that the difference between the way that where your parents came to in the end versus somebody like, for example, like my mom, she would never be accepting of it.
Actually, I think the one who's supposed to answer this clearly adalah orang tua aku ya pastinya. Cuman kalau menurut aku pribadi, in my humblest opinion, it's because they love me that much.
It's just love.
Just that. It's just love.
It's just love. Wow.
I think I know no love as genuine as that.
Yeah.
Sebelum aku benar-benar realize sekarang ini kalau kayak okay, I'm very loved by my parents.
Wow.
If you ask me like what's the difference and like the technique that my parents got compared to other parents, I think there's no specific techniques. They just love me that much.
Like, are your parents beragama?
Yeah, of course.
Like, but super beragama?
Jadi my parents used to be, I don't know. You don't know gemulai, of course you don't know penatua. Penatua itu adalah apa ya? So they got jabatan in the church.
A priest?
No.
Oh.
Below the priest.
Yeah, below the priest.
Oh, there's something below the priest. I did not know that. I'm not Christian, by the way. I'm Buddhist.
Yeah, I'm Christian.
Okay.
I'm
Protestant
Christian,
atau Catholic?
Protestant.
Okay.
I'm Christian, I'm Chinese, and I'm from Makassar. Tapi kayak with all the background I have, I think people always assume that my parents study abroad.
Yeah.
Orang selalu kira kayak or at least mereka bukan orang daerah. Cuman the truth is my father and my mother mungkin my father he used to work in Jakarta for a while. Cuman my mom she was born and she lived in Makassar for her entire life. Now she's like 58.
Okay. And that's relatively young actually. Your dad is how old?
My dad is 61.
61. Oh, okay. Yeah, because my mom is 63.
Yeah.
The gap is huge. You and your mom, I guess it's not that bad. Normal lah ya, normal.
Yeah, normal.
Yeah.
Jadi kayak maksudnya orang suka ngira kayak orang tua aku itu very open-minded because they are infused by you know a lot of other cultures daripada cultures kita sendiri. Cuman the truth is no, they don't.
The difference is just love.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's crazy that it's, in a way, it's that simple. It's just love, but at the same time, it's not that simple either.
Bahkan sekarang ya, kalau aku mikir, mereka tuh sayang sama aku lebih daripada aku sayang sama mereka.
Ooh, why? What led you to that?
Karena ya itu, mereka tidak pernah berniat untuk mengubah aku. Just because they really love me. Dan mungkin kalau aku dipaksa untuk merubah diri hanya untuk karena alasan sayang, it will be so hard for me. Tapi mereka, have you ever imagine kayak living kayak selama let's say 50 tahun gitu with all that concept and beliefs that you have, terus tiba-tiba kamu umur 50 kamu punya anak, terus anak kamu mencoba menjelaskan sebuah konsep baru yang mungkin kamu selama ini tuh nggak pernah tahu dan kamu nggak pernah nyangka ini akan menjadi bagian dari keluarga, bahkan your own baby. Terus mereka di usia 50-an they are willing to learn about this whole new concept. Bahkan cuman not learning but accepting that it's part of their family. Kayak sumpah menurut aku tuh keren banget sih.
No. I commend your parents. A paradigm shift at any age is very difficult to reconcile with, apalagi kalau udah seumur itu, jujur aja. So that's really amazing. I've talked about this with a friend because I'm somebody that one day I want to have kids, but I don't want to get pregnant. So I want to adopt children. And I was talking about this with my friend. Coincidentally enough, my friend's a gay man. And I talked to him. I was talking about him about having kids, and I was like, I hope one day, aku harap banget suatu hari, just kebetulan aja, I happen to adopt a gay baby.
Okay.
And the only reason why is because I know that I'm going to be able to provide a lot of love and care for that baby. No different than if I were to have a straight baby.
Aku sih selalu berharap ya semoga segala keturunan di keluarga aku itu kalau bisa lahir sesuai norma yang ada aja. Karena sebagai yang hidup dan lahir tidak sesuai dengan norma yang dianut at least di negara ini, it is very very challenging. Dan kalau bisa challenge itu sekiranya hanya aku aja yang hadapin, jangan sampai adik-adik dan anak-anak di keluarga aku. Tapi kalau misalnya pun itu harus terjadi, I always promise myself that I will be this fairy gay mother for them. I don't wanna have kids, Dalam artian aku nggak bisa hamil of course, tapi aku juga nggak berniat buat adopt atau mungkin nitip di rahim orang.
Surrogacy.
Tapi if I happen to finally becoming a
godparent,
I promise myself that I will give these kids much better living no matter who they are.
And be supportive of them no matter the way that they come into the world. Right?
Tapi kalau aku bisa request ya semoga mereka sesuai norma yang ada
norma aja.
Biar gak susah hidupnya. Bahkan kalau ditanya ya, kan aku sering banget dapat pertanyaan entah kenapa baik dari netizen maupun media kayak, do you wanna be a mother? One of the biggest reason why I don't wanna be like someone else's primary mom is because I cannot imagine having a son or daughter dimana mereka tuh harus for their entire life explaining to other people that I have a trans mom. Kayak aku udah mikir sejauh itu. Aku kebayang kalau misalnya suatu hari nanti mereka harus menikah, terus mereka harus memperkenalkan aku ke besan aku, terus kayak oke, nggak jadi deh, aku nggak mau punya besan transgender misalnya seperti itu. Itu kan aku akan menjadi a new burden for like a new human gitu kan.
I think that's very sad that you feel that way about yourself.
Well, I'm just being logic here.
Yeah,
gitu.
I mean, logically I see.
Tapi I got nothing against trans friends yang pengen punya anak ya. Go for it if you think you are able to. Silahkan. Cuman aku pribadi mungkin seeing my mom, seeing my dad, we were very cool with everything now. Tapi of course tiap kali aku dengar. Jadi aku tuh udah sering ya pastinya diserang sama orang-orang cibiran-cibiran, let's say netizen atau mungkin intinya hate trans gitu. Cuman ketika misalnya itu menyerang keluarga aku, apalagi ketika itu menyerang my mom and my dad, aku tahu mereka tuh tidak sekuat aku, dalam artian mereka nggak sebodoh amat aku gitu loh. Tapi aku anak mereka. Jadi ini tuh adalah sesuatu yang gak bisa diputuskan gitu loh. Kayak the relationship ini gak bisa dilepas. Jadi ketika aku nantinya one day menjadi primary mom seseorang, itu kan sama kan the relationship.
Right.
I am like part of them forever.
Right.
Unless aku mungkin jadi secondary mom dalam artian kayak nikah sama duda gitu, itu mungkin lebih make sense. Karena the kids having like their own mom. Cuman kalau harus aku yang jadi primary momnya, for now, 2025 kayaknya nggak dulu deh.
No, and like the fact that you're 26, mama, you. It's not the age, not now, not in this economy especially.
Tapi sering banget lo ketemu cowok yang kayak misalnya ngajak pacaran serius gitu, terus sampai udah discuss kayak pengen udah punya anak gitu. Terus kayak okay, that's hard.
But I have a question that I feel like is going to go very deep. I have a question. So berdasarkan like what you just explained to me just now, so it seems like your primary reason why you do not want to become a parent is because you perceive yourself as being a potential future burden to your potential future children, that they are going to have to constantly explain to everybody that my mother
it sounds very pity, but
So hypothetically, if we lived in a world where, in a very ideal world where there's no bigotry and like we've completely eradicated homophobia, transphobia, and let's say that in the future that that's not going to be an issue. So if you could disregard, if you didn't think that you were going to be a burden, would you want to be a mom?
Depends on who I'm marrying to.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. But I mean, okay, let's say hypothetically, like you found a really good man.
Yeah, of course.
So that means the only reason why now you don't want to have children is because of that. Is because you kapan gak mau membebani, gak mau jadi beban anak ya. I feel kind of sad hearing that. I don't know, like, and of course, like I'm not. It's not to say that I have an issue with your choice ya, bukan maksudnya kayak gitu, tapi maksudnya kayak it's so unfair.
But it is what it is.
Yeah, but it is. Yeah, but at the same time, it is what it is. But I feel like then the solution is, to fight the fight that I fight and that you fight, and it's to, try our best to create a much more fair and equitable, non-discriminatory future. But I also understand in Indonesia, like that is a very difficult, almost impossible hurdle to.
Yeah, but the thing is, I really love to live in this country, as in like I think Indo is very convenient for living. Makanya kan aku tuh suka sedih sebenarnya kadang kalau orang mikir, orang suka suggest, bahkan kadang nadanya baik ya gitu loh, kayak kayaknya kamu tuh cocoknya tinggal di luar negeri aja deh.
Yeah.
Tapi kayak aku tuh suka banget sama negara ini, gimana dong? Dalam artian aku suka hidup aku tuh udah nyaman di sini, pekerjaan aku. Oke, keluarga aku semua di sini.
Teman-teman di sini.
Exactly. Jadi kayak aduh aku nggak pernah sih merasa kayak pindah ke luar negeri tuh adalah sebuah solusi gitu loh sebenarnya. Aku kan baru balik dari liburan tahun baru kan sama keluarga aku.
Malaysia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like 11 of us. So me, my parents, my siblings, my nephews and niece gitu. And all my in-laws. Anyway, being like together with them, terus habis itu seeing the quality time we have, cherish all the moments together. It's actually one of the things that I'm very grateful about my life right now. Ini connecting to what you said previously. Karena sekarang aku ngerasa kayak there's nothing that I need to sacrifice. Dalam artian I can still chase my dream, I can still be who I am without losing my family.
Yeah.
Which itu kan sebenarnya adalah hal yang banyak banget teman-teman queer, especially teman-teman trans harus korbankan gitu loh. Misalnya ketika mereka dikeluarkan dari keluarga just because they express who they really are. So yeah, I'm very blessed, lucky, and privileged because I can get both of it gitu.
I had a question and it was related to your dad, but now I can't remember, so I'm just gonna wait for it to come back. My other question actually, and none of this is in the TOR, but like, you know, just if as a disclaimer, like if there's anything that I asked and you're not comfortable, like just straight up tell me. But I had a question about, is it difficult for you to go to the doctors here?
No.
Medical treatment?
Aku nggak tahu teman-teman transgender lain, tapi
for you personally?
In my case enggak sih.
Okay. Like is it important?
Unless buat hormon terapi ya. Kalau hormon terapi memang layernya banyak banget. Tapi kalau untuk let's say mat check and so on, untuk aku pribadi gampang sih.
Okay, yeah, no, because I would assume that, of course, the topic of like, you know, there's gender and then there's biological sex. And so, of course, biological sex is very pertinent when it's in like medical. And so it's like, you know, and I feel like a lot of doctors here, even I as a cis straight woman, I have problems with the way that a lot of medical professionals conduct themselves in this country. So I'm thinking like, what more kalau yang kayak teman-teman trans kayak gitu.
Aku cukup back again, I'm very privileged. Ya aku punya akses untuk going to my private doctor that know my case.
Yeah.
Cuman kan back again, nggak semua teman-teman transgender itu punya akses seperti itu kan.
Right.
Makanya ini juga salah satu hal yang menurut aku harus banget diperhatikan ya di negara ini.
But I see someone like me, cis and straight. Well, more, mainly the fact that I'm cis. I mean, straight doesn't really have anything to do with it. The fact that I'm, as a cis person, I can go to any hospital.
Yeah.
I can see any doctor. Can you do that? Or do you have to do your research on like, you know, is this doctor educated on like, you know, handling trans patients? Or that's something that you have to do?
I never think about it actually, because back again, I have my own private doctor.
Jadi semuanya tuh private doctor for everything.
For at least kalau sakit gitu ya.
Yeah.
Iya.
Like even I don't know what's like a common. I don't know if I can GERD. Do you have GERD?
No, I don't.
Okay, no, because a lot of Indonesians have GERD.
I don't. I'm very healthy.
Yeah, no, same here.
GERDless
bitches.
Iya, so I have my own private doctors.
Okay.
Yeah, I have few.
Okay.
Karena nggak usah dokter deh. Teman-teman trans aja tuh banyak yang potong rambut itu ditolak loh, going to salon gitu.
On what basis? Do they know? Or is it just because they're bigoted?
Mungkin kalau trans women itu lebih gampang yang case-nya kalau ke salon, tapi trans men. Jadi aku baca di Twitter katanya banyak trans men itu yang ditolak masuk ke barber.
But do they know why they're being rejected, or is it just because they're
just
transphobic?
Barbernya transfobik aja. Padahal kan ya, let's say trans men yang bentuk kepala dan potongan rambutnya sama aja kan sama let's say laki-laki pada umumnya gitu.
Yeah.
Tapi barbernya nggak mau karena menurut barbernya saya nggak bisa potong rambut perempuan.
Padahal kayaknya the hair that grows out of the scalp of males and females sama aja gak sih?
Iya kan, makanya kayak gak usah jauh-jauh dokter potong rambut aja banyak loh case-nya seperti itu.
Have you heard of this one documentary by a American political commentator? His name is Matt Walsh. There's a documentary called What is a Woman?
Not yet.
Okay. Matt Walsh is this conservative American political commentator. He works for, I'm pretty sure he's under the Daily Wire still. And they made a documentary. And Matt Walsh has this, in my opinion, very unhealthy obsession with trans people for somebody that is not at all trans. And he goes around asking people, demanding people, explaining to him what exactly is a woman. And I've watched the documentary. I should have sent it to you before this.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
my
yeah.
bad. Aku lupa. Tapi I'm wondering how you would answer that, of like, what is a woman? Because back again to the difference between gender and biological sex. Kalau gender itu kan woman,
Yeah.
tapi biological sex itu
Female.
female versus male. But what is a woman? So that is tied to gender. So how would you answer if this was Matt Walsh asking you what is a woman?
It's a adult girl.
Mm-hmm. Simple as that.
Yeah.
An adult girl. Do you feel like when it comes to gender, I mean, first of all, I feel like the apa sih namanya? The ice that we gotta break here, first and foremost, is if somebody were to ask you your biological sex, would you say that you're a male or a female?
I'd say I'm a trans woman.
You're a trans woman.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you had people ask you your biological sex?
I even stated in my dating app's bio,
Mm-hmm.
transgender pre-op.
Okay.
So I think it explains everything.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, so she's a trans, but she's a pre-op. So you should have known what's inside down there. And I think asking someone about what's inside your pants
Yeah.
is a very apa ya, pertanyaan gak penting unless kita
Intrusive,
mau
ya.
ngewe abis ini.
Yeah, it's very intrusive. But depending on, would you say that it depends on certain contexts?
Unless ketemu dokter kali ya.
Oh ya, kalau ketemu dokter ya, obviously.
Atau mungkin kemarin aku habis oplas, penting untuk mereka tahu what's inside the whole body. Tapi kalau misalnya kayak interview kerja.
Oh ya, of course ya, enggak lah.
Sadly, itu yang sekarang banyak teman-teman transpuan, transmen hadapi ketika misalnya lagi melamar kerja.
Ditanya what's there down there?
Yeah, sometimes.
That's really inappropriate. But
Atau
I'm not
mungkin
surprised.
bahkan kadang nggak bisa dapat akses pekerjaan yang layak just because they still have it down there.
I see.
So it's not judged based on like their work ethic or value, but simply just because they still have it down there hanging.
I see. I was thinking more so on, so for example, like an instance where, let's set some parameters here, like if we're doing cultural conversations where biological sex might be pertinent, emphasis on might, I don't even know, like I could be very wrong. An example of where biological sex might be pertinent, for example, the topic of menstruation. Itu hot banget back in the States. And by the way, I don't know if you keep up with political news from the United States, apalagi like concerning the trans movement kayak gitu. But for example, like there are a lot of people that would make the argument that trans women do not have any trans women, right? So biological male transitioning to living as a woman.
Yeah.
Do not have any business engaging in conversation surrounding menstruation, apalagi pregnancy. Ya itu dua itu deh. And so like, I don't know, what's your opinion about that?
It's very interesting karena kayak aku kemarin baru banget baca sebuah thread di X di Twitter. Kenapa ada yang namanya unpaid labor when it comes to marriage, karena let's say harga susu formula itu ternyata sekarang udah 1,2 juta per box, per kaleng.
Okay.
Sedangkan perempuan itu bisa ngasih ASI secara gratis. That's why itu disebutkan unpaid labor, karena mereka tuh bisa menghasilkan ASI yang harganya tuh seperti itu di supermarket. But you know what? Trans women itu ada paper yang bilang bisa menyusui. Cuman aku belum pernah baca.
Okay.
Tapi aku sendiri hari ini dengan payudara aku merasa aku tidak bisa menyusui. Of course, menurutku.
Yeah.
Itu justru membuat aku semakin respect lagi ke para perempuan biologis ini. Karena kayak wow, women are crazy.
The female body
women
is insane.
are magical.
Yeah.
Ini bikin aku semakin menghargai perempuan. Ini bikin aku semakin apa ya, respect them. Makanya kalau tadi kamu bilang on several conversation like menstruation and then pregnancy, transgender itu tidak harusnya dilibatkan karena kita nggak pernah merasakannya juga. Mungkin menurut aku benar tidak benar. Karena sebagai let's say on my case aku baca soal ASI, di mana aku tidak bisa memberi ASI, tapi aku baca itu dan itu justru membuka mataku kalau misalnya female itu se-magical itu. Jadi I think it depends on the concept and the context sih.
Do you have a problem with people saying like as a biological woman? Like
No.
Okay.
Because you are.
Okay. Right. As a cis woman and as a biological woman, I'm very glad to hear that from you. Because I'm not gonna lie, the reason why I'm asking this is because at least back in the United States, I think yang penting harus di-disclaim itu adalah obviously the LGBT movement in the United States is so much more udah lebih apa ya?
Masif kali.
Udah ya maksudnya lebih tua. So it's like they've had more time to progress and to grow and like for people to really understand versus in countries like Indonesia, for example. And so it's really important to disclaim that when we're having conversations about, you know, LGBT movement and, LGBT news that are in America, it doesn't always apply to in Indonesia. That's what I'm trying to say. And I remember that there was this one incident where it was a trans woman influencer, and she got canceled mad badly, and in my opinion I feel like she low-key deserved it because she bought during a time where the United States was going through not an economic crisis, but it was really hard for people, like prices are skyrocketing, banyak wanita itu nggak mampu beli tampons, beli pembalut. And so this trans woman influencer, she bought a bunch of pads and tampons, terus dia filming TikTok video not really, she was making a video that was basically like kind of making fun of like tampons and pads kayak gitu. And which for a lot of people, but especially biological women, like it came across as very insensitive, and so like she got a lot of heat with that, and it sparked this entire conversation of like, do trans women, as obviously like trans women, but biologically male, do they have, how should I phrase it? Where am I trying to go here? If there is a responsibility for trans women to also uphold and to protect and to respect realms that come with being a biological woman.
Yeah, of course. Aku selalu merasa sekarang bahkan dengan aku menjadi seorang quote-unquote women, apa ya? Banyak hal, apalagi di sini kasusnya I am a trans woman and also a public figure. Ada banyak banget hal dan tindakan yang ketika aku lakukan, aku harus benar-benar berpikir apakah ini akan melukai hati komunitas aku, apakah ini akan melecehkan identitas aku sebagai seorang perempuan, atau sebaliknya. Jadi aku rasa sebagai seorang transgender tentu ada sangat banyak aspek dan hal yang harus kita jaga untuk melindungi citra perempuan itu sendiri. That's why sometimes aku tuh lumayan geram gitu loh ketika misalnya aku lihat other trans public figure yang justru tuh mengeksploitasi identitas mereka dengan seksualitas. Karena menurut aku hal yang mereka lakukan itu tuh secara tidak langsung melecehkan perempuan itu sendiri.
May I ask? So, sorry to cut you off, but when you say perempuan here, do you mean biological perempuan or perempuan in like the gender sense, like you perempuan?
All kind of women.
Okay, so both biological perempuan and okay, like because if you were to ask me, if I had Matthew Walsh sitting in front of me asking me how to define a woman, I like to give, if he were to ask me what is a woman, I would say that in this modern age, there's actually two types of women. And it's simply that there's cis women and there are trans women. Dan sebenarnya segampang itu.
Karena menurut aku sendiri ya, there's only one kind of women and one kind of men. Back again, it's a social construct. It's a concept. Dan konsepnya cuma satu menurut aku. konsep perempuan itu sendiri dan laki-laki itu sendiri.
Okay.
Jadi ketika aku bilang aku sekarang merepresentasikan diri sebagai perempuan, dalam artian aku personally adalah seorang transgender, transpuan yang merepresentasikan diri sebagai perempuan, aku pastinya nggak mau melecehkan konsep perempuan itu sendiri gitu.
Yeah.
Dan yang tadi kamu bilang, sebenarnya sih menurut aku on that case yang transgender influencer in state, aku rasa itu yang salah sih bukan transgendernya ya, tapi orangnya itu sendiri gitu loh.
Yes,
It's not because she's a trans, emang dia problematik aja apapun gender dia gitu loh. Tapi aku setuju itu hal yang salah karena misalnya kayak itu justru mereka dia nggak menghargai perempuan lain dong, yang mungkin tidak seberuntung dia untuk bisa beli tampan gitu loh.
Yeah. I've talked about this on Aska Corbusier's channel because he invited me over to talk about feminism and LGBT. And I did make a point to say that I feel like, unfortunately, there are members of the LGBTQ community. And by the way, when I talk about this, again, it's not LGBTQ community in Indonesia. Because LGBTQ community in Indonesia doesn't get any like media representation whatsoever. But I'm talking about usually like the United States, and then in certain cases like France or Europe, for example, unfortunately there are, I guess what you would call bad apples, kalau bahasa Indonesia oknum gitu ya. Yeah, there are certain people within the LGBTQ community that unfortunately don't go about representing the community in the best way, and of course dampaknya itu jadi satu community itu di apa? What's the word I'm looking for here? Kind of brain dead right now.
Jadinya merugikan the whole community.
Yeah, merugikan the whole community.
Tapi that's also the same thing here, babe. That's why aku tuh selalu kayak bener-bener berhati-hati banget in everything I do. Karena jadi aku kan cukup sering juga ya dirujak gitu loh di Twitter misalnya. Unfortunately setiap kali misalnya aku dirujak, yang diserang itu sebenarnya bukan cuma aku tapi juga my community. Padahal menurut aku sometimes kayak ya there's apa yang gak ada hubungannya, it's just my fault, let's say.
No, but I feel like everybody, semua orang tuh kayaknya dirujak oleh satu Twitter deh. Like,
cuman maksudnya kadang tuh kayak misalnya kamu dirujak, tapi kan kamu aja, bukan kayak the whole community of
Chinese Indonesians,
gender women Chinese gitu. Cuman kayak misalnya when it comes to trans, somehow tuh aku selalu merasa kasihan tuh karena kayak misalnya ada satu transgender yang melakukan kesalahan, terus yang kena tuh the whole community gitu. It's just unfair.
Alright, my tits are fine. Yeah, it's covered. Alright, I don't wanna flash anybody my tits. That's premium content. Can you imagine? I turn noise into my OnlyFans.
Only noise.
The only noise these titties make. No, I'm kidding. Oh God, I'm so kidding.
We'll be back with the episode in just a second, but first, I want to give a quick shout out to the two sponsors of today's episode, My Dido and Glitz Inclusive. Look no further if you're in the market for a nightclub in South Jakarta that is a safe space, has drag shows, hires deaf and disabled folks, and serves a French Asian fusion menu crafted by a Cordon Bleu Culinary Art Institute trained chef that isn't ridiculously expensive and is going to burn a hole through your wallet. Unfortunately, it's no surprise that nightclubs have a history of excluding minorities and historically marginalized communities. They also, unfortunately, have a very bad reputation of being very dangerous for women. But Glitz is out here to challenge all of that by being the first ever social impact nightclub and restaurant here in Jakarta, and I am here for it.
And if your idea of a fun night is to just stay at home, lay in bed, get restful sleep, you might want to check out these Nature Edition adult toys from My Dido instead. I honestly cannot get over how adorable these are. Like, Tito, look at this. It's a little kitty cat for your kitty.
That's why they call it pussy.
Putting the cat in Pussycat. Here at TIGS, we are dedicated to destigmatizing adult toys and self-play. Adult toys, unfortunately, still have this like horrible reputation of being super dirty and embarrassingly vulgar. Like when people think of dildos, they still think of like those 8-inch monster cocks made of silicone that are super hyper realistic that stick on the wall. None of these stick on the wall, by the way. But yeah, when in actuality, sex toys are actually, number one, a very essential part to anybody's sexual health, so long as they are of age. Number two, are the guaranteed safest way for you to explore your body in private and consensually. And number three, most adult toy brands these days, like My Dido, use very creative and sleek designs. Absolute praise for how how discreet the packaging and the designs of these toys are. My mbak actually put this on the dining table when it arrived in the mail, and it was just sitting there for a couple of days, and my mom didn't even notice. So if you're worried about other people seeing these, like, chances are they wouldn't even be able to tell at first glance anyway. My personal favorite is the squid, for reasons that I think you can see why. Like, even their lubes are super discreet. Like, you would not have been able to tell at first that these were lubricants.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look like candy. And guys, in the back it says for the nutritional facts, or the love facts, the calories, it's 69 calories. It's funny, it's cute, I love these. Links to buy these My Dido Nature Edition adult toys, as well as more information on Glitz, are all down below in the description. And now, back to the episode.
I was actually gonna ask you, like, how should one navigate when it comes to children coming out as being trans?
It's a very difficult question to answer, honestly. Karena kayak I know everyone understand themselves differently as well.
Yeah.
In a different level. Sometimes they realize it in a very early age. Sometimes they just finally find themselves in a very old age. Kayak misalnya mereka baru sadar mereka itu trans, let's say di usia 40 tahun misalnya, seperti itu. Karena kan in some cases I know some friends yang demikian gitu misalnya.
Yeah.
Jadi kalau ditanya, I know ini reference kamu pasti state lagi, karena kayak di sana kan maksudnya kayak banyak anak-anak yang udah mulai taking hormones dari kecil gitu loh misalnya. In my opinion, well, judging from my case, I always know that I like men dari SD. I always know that.
Okay.
And then going to Christian school, terus kayak you were always dikasih pelajaran bahwa ini tuh dosa dan lain sebagainya. Terus kayak I try to convert myself. During SMP aku coba buat so I'm a very logical person. Aku waktu itu merasa you cannot say that you are gay if you never date women before. So you need to experience it.
Rule out. Yeah.
Itu opinion aku ya, and that's my journey. So I used to date a woman once. SMP. Terus setelah itu ternyata aku nggak bisa. Ternyata aku nggak suka. Ternyata the more I try to love her, the more I see her as my sister. Terus, anyway, judging back to the question, kalau misalnya anak-anak dari kecil udah doing the transition, actually aku punya beberapa teman yang demikian, tapi mereka memang tinggal di luar negeri. Dari kecil tuh bukan dari kecil deh. Dari remaja, kecil itu ibaratnya terlalu dini ya. Dari remaja sudah terapi hormon dan lain sebagainya. Karena mungkin kan di luar negeri sana lebih accessible ya.
Yeah, that's
jadi
one.
Mereka dari let's say SMP gitu misalnya udah consuming estrogen gitu, dan testosterone blocker. Well, good for them.
Yeah.
Tapi untuk aku pribadi sih, that's a very risky. Risky. That's a very risky action. Jadi mungkin kalau ditanya children started doing the transition, aku tahu banget sih perasaannya waktu kecil misalnya pengen mainan, walaupun aku sekarang merasa there's no such thing as mainan perempuan atau mainan laki-laki ya. Tapi kan mungkin waktu kecil, let's say seeing all my girlfriends wearing dresses, oh my god, I really wanna wear that princess dress gitu loh. Tapi maksudnya kayak nggak bisa gitu. Aku tahu sih perasaan sedih anak-anak itu. Cuman back again ya, lapang dada apa orang tuanya dan knowledge apa orang tuanya untuk nge-guide mereka on the transition journey. Karena kan the transition journey ini sebenarnya kita butuh guide. Me myself, I have my own guide and I have my own research. Tapi kan ketika itu dilakukan sama anak-anak, yang harus menjadi guide mereka adalah orang tua mereka. So if you ask me, children can do it in a very early age.
Yeah.
I think it depends on their parents.
Well, I think it also actually add another layer to that. I think it also depends on what country they're in, because of like certain countries may not have the fullest, broadest access to, let's say, for example, hormonal replacement therapy, which I was going to ask. And again, like, this is the difference between, like, why this conversation is a little bit hard for me, because again, so much of my knowledge is rooted in the United States. I need to operate here in Indonesia. In Indonesia, is it even possible? So let's say, like, I as a parent, my child comes out as being trans, and I want to put my child, I'm like, okay, I took my child's word for it. I want to put them through hormonal replacement therapy or even get surgery. Is that even something that in Indonesia is allowed?
Sejujurnya aku nggak tahu ya batas usianya di negara ini seperti apa. Tapi sebenarnya untuk terapi hormon di negara ini tuh bisa-bisa aja, tapi layernya banyak banget. Jadi kamu nggak sesederhana pergi ke, if I'm not mistaken, antropolog, pokoknya dokter yang mengurus terapi hormon itulah.
Okay.
You cannot simply go them, pay them, and ask for the medication. No, you can't. Itu kan yang terjadi di luar negeri kan. Jadi you can,
allegedly, that's what they're saying.
You can go to the doctor and then ask for the hormone stuffs.
Yeah.
Di sini tuh enggak. Di sini kamu harus ke psikolog dulu. Terus setelah dari psikolog kamu harus ke dokter. I forgot one. And then after that you need to have lawyer. You need to have lawyer because they see it as a sebuah kasus.
Legal, like a legal risk for the medical institution.
I have no fucking idea.
Is that what you went through? So you had a lawyer?
No.
Okay.
Setelah kamu udah punya, you go to this like 3 or 4 stages, kamu baru bisa bawa all the papers ke dokter yang akan menangani transisi hormon itu. Karena kalau misalnya ketahuan dia membantu transisi hormon itu tanpa segala paper-paper tadi, izin dokter dia bisa dicabut. Itu yang terjadi di negara ini.
Okay.
Because I actually just started doing my hormonal transition itu akhir tahun lalu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so what I did adalah aku akhirnya online, online consultation via rumah sakit Thailand. That's what I did.
Alright.
Karena I know some friends yang akhirnya, aku pernah diserang lagi sama teman-teman transgender karena opini ini. Aku nggak percaya diri sama my own riset.
Yeah.
That's why I need doctor.
Of course.
But back again, that's because I'm very privileged that I have the access and wealth to go through doctor.
Yes.
Other trans friends that I know, they do their own research for that medication. Me, myself, I'm not confident with my own research.
Right.
That's why I seek help through professional. Tapi back again, gimana pun situasi kamu, hal ini tuh terjadi karena negara ini tuh memberatkan kita untuk terapi hormon.
As in it's required?
Memberatkan dalam artian kita direpotin.
Oh.
Kita nggak bisa simply ke dokter dan minta bantuan. Kita justru harus minta surat-surat dari berbagai hal-hal lain dulu untuk terapi hormon.
I see. Yeah.
That's why banyak orang yang mungkin mager pertama. Kedua, untuk ke psikolog, untuk ke semua hal dan lain-lain punya lawyer itu mahal banget.
Yeah.
Iya kan, makanya banyak orang yang mungkin yang educated mereka bisa doing their own research. Cuman yang gak educated gimana dong? Akhirnya asal suntik kan?
Yeah. And they're probably, I don't know, this is just a guess, but I mean probably if they're doing their own research. And
Lo pernah denger gak sih orang kayak misalnya kayak a transgender terus misalnya dia hypersensitive, terus habis itu ada yang bilang lo sih kebanyakan hormon. Itu kan that's like stereotypical saying, atau bukan stereotypical saying, itu hal yang cukup sering aku dengar gitu loh.
Okay.
Ketika misalnya ada transgender hormon tiba-tiba jadi lagi under hormon, terus tiba-tiba jadi hypersensitive and so on. Itu aku riset loh, kok bisa sih seperti itu? Kok emang bisa ya jadi hypersensitive? Emang bisa ya breakout separah itu? Emang bisa ya let's say nggak bisa ereksi dan lain sebagainya. Ternyata tuh bisa tuh terjadi karena over. Jadi kayak kan hormon itu kita let's say transgender, aku berarti konsumnya estrogen dan testosteron blocker itu kan harus berkala. Nggak bisa langsung yang tiba-tiba yang kayak dosisnya lebay.
Yeah.
Ketika dosisnya lebay, itulah yang akhirnya bikin orang tuh let's say jadi sensitif, jadi
Right.
nggak bisa ereksi dan lain sebagainya.
Right,
Tapi gimana sih orang bisa tahu soal knowledge ini?
Right. But it's also, I feel like, because you were saying, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's actually very difficult for you to get access to those hormonal
Ya,
to the medicine kan di Indo.
rasanya tuh
Berarti-
kayak beli narkoba. Rasanya ya,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
rasanya.
Well, but I feel like there are certain trans people that it pretty much is like they kind of have to go through the black market to get the medicine and suntik sendiri kan what you're saying?
Iya.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't, because you said that you were going to get canceled by the trans community for saying that, but it's like
No,
if anything,
aku pernah dapat beberapa bukan hate trend sih, tapi kayak mereka merasa opini aku itu sangat
Privileged.
Iya, karena aku bilang aku punya dokter, bukan
Yeah.
aku punya dokter. I went to like this online consultation to
Yeah.
Thailand karena aku nggak mau hormon asal-asalan.
Mhm.
Mereka tersinggung karena aku bilangnya hormon asal-asalan.
Oh, okay. I mean, let's be real here. It is hormon asal-asalan. You are doing it asal-asalan, and that's not the way that you should do it. And at the same time, I have empathy and compassion for people that don't have access to medical
Yeah.
professionals and medicine as much as you do. And
Mereka tersinggung karena menurut mereka itu bukan asal-asalan karena mereka doing their own
Own
research.
research, yeah,
Well,
well-
good for them.
well,
Yeah, good for them.
Well, yeah, but doing your own research, you're also susceptible to confirmation bias.
Exactly, and I'm not willing to do it
Of
just because I'm
course.
not confident with my own research.
Yeah, no, of course. No, I think you're doing the right and healthy thing. And at the same time, of course, we acknowledge the fact that you're able to do so because of your privilege. I feel like the solution isn't for the trans community to shame you because you're in a way invalidating the method that they're doing it. I think the solution is for the satu-satunya cara itu sebenarnya for governments
Exactly.
to expand access for trans people in order to be able to get medical.
Jadi setahu aku tuh dulu bisa dan dulu tuh ada dan dulu tuh legal. Bahkan di rumah sakit swasta tuh maksudnya kayak bisa gitu loh terapi hormon. Cuman setelah if I'm not mistaken setelah ganti presiden keberapa gitu, baru akhirnya terapi hormon itu dianggap sebagai sebuah tindakan ilegal. Jadi dulu tuh sebenarnya bisa zaman Soekarno. Kalau aku tidak salah, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Kayaknya sampai eranya Pak Habibie, kalau aku nggak salah.
Okay, so up until Habibie, and then
Yeah.
setelah itu udah nggak lagi. I mean, yeah, it's Habibie.
Well, ya, tapi aku lupa deh. Is it like until Habibie?
Maybe, but we'll
Yeah.
fact check it.
Ya.
But you know what's interesting on the topic of HRT, hormonal replacement therapy? Hormonal replacement therapy is not just for trans people.
Ya,
Correct me if I'm wrong.
exactly. Kadang kan obat jerawat juga itu
It's
kan
hormonal replacement
obat
therapy.
hormon,
Bitch,
exactly.
I take birth control for my acne.
Itu.
So it's like, oh wait, you take birth control?
Yeah, for my acne.
Diana atau which one do you take? The other one?
Rakuten?
Oh, you're on Accutane.
Ya,
Babes, that's not, hold on. Accutane is not birth control. Birth control KB.
Pil KB kan?
Pil KB, iya.
Oh,
Accutane is not KB.
So I went this kita boleh sebut dokter gak sih?
Don't.
Adalah
Yeah.
this one in Senayan. Terus he explain ini tuh sebenarnya pil untuk pil KB.
Censor this. What the hell?
That's why kalau misalnya mau katanya kalau mau hamil
Yeah.
obat minumnya tuh di stop dulu.
Girl, I also went to that same doctor. That doctor ruined my life.
Kenapa?
Enggak, aku jerawatannya tuh sampai parah banget.
Dibikin ini kan apa sih namanya? Purging dulu kan?
Yeah, the purging, except the purging didn't stop, I feel like. It just made everything worse.
Oh ya?
So, I mean, this is a completely different topic, but watch my episode with Shanika. We talked exactly about this doctor.
Oke.
There's one doctor in Senayan that starts with a letter.
Oke.
And,
Tapi di aku work sih.
okay, yeah,
It
but I
works.
guess, yeah. No, but I'm so sure of this. Accutane is not birth control. That's why I was confused, like when you're taking birth control, because biologically you're male. I don't send like.
Tapi aku so I'm also an acne fighters, right?
Yup.
Yeah, I took a few medication.
Mm-hmm.
Aku ingat banget kok, tapi aku lupa namanya. Tapi itu emang acknowledge as pil KB. Tapi sebelum aku terapi hormon ya, kan aku harus cek kadar hormon di tubuh aku. Ternyata memang estrogen aku tuh lebih banyak daripada laki-laki pada umumnya.
Yeah, I have PCOS, so my testosterone, when I got tested, the doctor told me I have the testosterone levels of a man.
See?
So, like, yeah, back again to HRT, people thinking that it's only for trans people. It's also for cis people as well with hormonal
Kalau aku nggak salah
imbalances.
temen aku, jadi dia emang cis and straight women.
Yeah.
Dia tuh menstruasi tuh nggak lancar.
Yep, exactly.
Makanya dia harus
PCOS kali.
Makanya dia harus take that hormone pill gitu biar menstruasi dia lancar.
Yeah.
Terus in my case sebelum aku akhirnya terapi hormon kan dokter yang di Thailand itu suggest untuk aku cari tahu dulu kadar hormon di tubuh aku. Ternyata memang ternyata treatment kami tuh nggak butuh setinggi itu dosisnya. Kenapa? Karena setelah kita cek dan aku kirim hasil lab aku, ternyata emang kadar estrogen aku tuh lebih tinggi daripada laki-laki pada umumnya. No wonder katanya mungkin some parts of me are very women alike, even though I haven't did the hormone, the estrogen yet. Karena ternyata emang dari lahir tuh estrogennya udah lebih banyak daripada daripada laki-laki pada umumnya.
That was also the other piece of research that I was reading about, that there is now scientific evidence to support when scanning the brains of trans individuals versus cis individuals, it is reflected in the brain. I don't know if you've ever gotten your brain scanned.
No, not yet.
Okay. In the research, it says that so with trans women, so biological males that identify as women, the part of their brains resemble the brains of cis women more.
Interesting.
Yeah. But what were we talking about just now? Oh yeah, HRT. Is it covered by insurance? No way, right?
No.
Okay,
no.
yeah, that's also the other. That's also the
Lasik
other
mata aja tuh
problem.
nggak covered by insurance, apalagi HRT.
Actually, no, I shouldn't talk about BPJS because I'm not even on BPJS, so I don't know what BPJS covers. But so you were saying that there's layers to be able to get hormonal replacement therapy, and that's just hormonal. What about what is it? Termnya itu apa? Like surgery, gender
Aku lupa istilahnya. Tapi ya operasi yang di bawah kan.
Bukan cuma di bawah kali. Like, wait, hold on. What's the term I'm thinking about? Hold on. Is it gender affirming surgery? Is that it? Is that what I'm thinking about? Never mind. No, I feel like it's the operation for your genitals.
Kalau aku aku nggak pernah berpikir sejauh itu. Just because I don't see any problems with what's going on down there.
Okay, so you're not. You don't plan on doing.
Yeah, I'm not planning. At least until mungkin kalau sekarang aku mikirnya for the next 10 years enggak. Aku nggak tahu sih what's going on in the next other decades. Tapi kayak for now until the next 10 years, I think I'm fine with that and I never have problems with it. But anyway, kalau nggak salah kayaknya even di luar negeri deh tetap butuh banyak layers. Jadi nggak cuma sekedar kayak ke dokter dan minta dipotong gitu atau minta ditambahin. Kayaknya memang even doing it overseas itu juga layernya lumayan banyak.
The term that I was trying to remember is gender affirming surgery. So that is not just bottom surgery, it's also
face feature.
Physical features. But that one you've done already.
Yeah.
Are you still doing more or are you in the middle of it? Are you done?
Nabung kali ya, Bun.
Yeah, of course, like keeping that in mind.
Ya, tapi sekarang sih I'm pretty satisfied with what my doctor already did. So pasti ada lah. Tapi ini kayaknya lebih kayak emang women in general aja. We never feel satisfied with our appearance.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No,
ya kan?
I can.
Jadi kayak it's not because I'm a trans, tapi kayaknya memang it's women in general aja gitu.
Actually, no. I feel like that's interesting because obviously, like I've only ever identified as a woman walking through the world that places very high standards and expectations of how a woman should look. And I guess what I'm trying to ask here is do you feel I'm wondering, I don't even know how to measure this, but how do you feel the burden, the weight and pressure of beauty standards imposed upon women as much as I do?
In my earliest stage of transition, so I go to fashion school, right?
I didn't know that about you, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
I took fashion business and I did modeling back in 2017. And I was raised with a very beautiful mom. Very beautiful and very judgmental mom. As if when it comes to penampilan. So all this time, you know, dari kecil baca majalah, dari kecil nonton fashion TV. Now we don't have fashion TV anymore. We used to have like that yang logonya diamond and F inside.
Yeah.
Seeing all these models and then, you know, taking fashion school. The idea of women in my head, apalagi dulu aku modeling.
Yeah.
Terus my agency told me I'm always too masculine and I'm always too fat for editorial shoot and so on.
Right.
Kayak for androgynous you are not women enough, but for men you are not manly enough and so on. Jadi dulu itu berasa kayak pressure-nya tuh gila banget. Karena the idea of women that I have in my head is Kendall Jenner.
Yeah.
And Emerata.
Yeah.
Itu kan kayak very 2017 and very fashion girly kan.
It's very 2016 coded, yeah.
Exactly. Jadi kayak di tahun itu ketika aku baru mulai transisi aku 2018 itu aku ngerasa tuh kayak I really have a bad relationship with food. And I always tried my best even until now sebenarnya itu kayak to picture myself as the perfect woman that I have in my head. Tapi kadang tuh kita ngerasa sebagai perempuan itu sadar gak sih kita tuh jahat ke diri sendiri gitu loh. Karena honestly sebenarnya memang the standard of being the ideal woman itu menyeramkan dan menyakitkan. Tapi that's why kan we have that beauty is pain.
Beauty is pain, yeah.
Tapi sebenarnya yang paling jahat itu menurut aku sekarang setelah aku menjadi perempuan kadang adalah diri aku sendiri yang begitu judgmental ke segala hal yang aku lakukan. Padahal sebenarnya orang tuh gak peduli. Orang tuh gak peduli kadang kayak rambut kita agak lepek dikit atau misalnya poni kita
not
kempes.
unless you're me. If you're me, God forbid you have one bad hair day and then suddenly everybody makes fun of you for having lepek hair.
Exactly. Aku tuh kadang ngerasa kayak gitu. Tapi kayak setelah aku jalani, kayak aku sadar kayak ternyata ini back again. Ini juga salah satu hal yang so every year I think I have a new chapter of being woman that I just discovered.
Yeah.
Dan kayaknya salah satu hal tergong kali. 2 tahun lalu tuh adalah belajar kalau misalnya kadang tuh yang menuntut kita menjadi perempuan sempurna tuh bukan society tapi diri kita sendiri.
Yeah. And just the fact that just now you said that we're always kita selalu jahat kepada diri kita sendiri, but apalagi kita selalu jahat kepada wanita lain.
Exactly.
It's always I don't know what it is about living in the patriarchy, and I feel like it's a lot of internalized sexism and misogyny that a lot of us women have, that we have a lot of pent up resentment and we take it out on other women.
Bahkan kadang kalau kita pun gak jahat ke diri sendiri, tapi other women comparing one woman to another woman as if kayak they are competing, padahal kayak they both are just living their best life gitu loh.
No, and I relate to what you said about your mother, like a very beautiful and very judgmental mother. It's always mothers. It's always mothers. The relationship again, which is why my series explaining sibling dynamics, but actually just like I'm very fascinated by the dynamics of within a family, like the mother-daughter relationship, like that is an entire thing to study on its own. Like, why is it always mothers that are always so?
Jadi kan, let's say di TikTok tuh aku sering banget dapat komentar, wah kalian tuh kalem banget, kalian itu maksudnya kayak very soft-spoken and so on. I believe that all this women quality, quote unquote women quality that I got tuh is coming from my mom, and I credits her a lot. Cuman maksudnya kayak on other hand and on other hard days,
she's the one that's being really judgmental.
Exactly. Jadi kadang ya rasanya tuh mau ketemu nyokap tuh lebih deg-degan daripada mau casting. Misalnya.
No, because you're just thinking every time she walks in the room and it's like, oh my gosh, she's about to say something. She's about to critique my appearance. She's about to complain about something that I'm doing wrong. My goodness, no.
Jadi, aduh aku gak tahu sih apakah ini harus aku ceritakan atau enggak. Aku kencing duduk. Aku pipis duduk. Yeah.
Since the very beginning?
No. Setelah aku transisi.
So after you transitioned, you pee sitting down?
Yeah.
Okay. Don't men pee sitting down as well?
No. Cowok pipis berdiri dong.
I know there's the urinal, but you also have the option. So men can do it both ways, no?
Ya.
Yeah, but
Tapi in general ketika cuman pipis doang, cowok kan pipis berdiri of course.
okay, yeah. Okay.
Ya.
Yeah.
Tapi setelah aku transisi,
Yeah.
entah kenapa, I don't know other trans friends, but me,
Yeah.
I find more comfortable
Mm-hmm.
pipis duduk.
Mm-hmm.
Oke, make sense kan?
Yeah.
Terus di beberapa kesempatan, let's say when I come back home, atau misalnya kemarin deh aku habis liburan sama keluarga aku,
Mm-hmm.
I'm very comfortable with my family kan.
Okay.
I'm very comfortable, especially with my mom.
Yeah.
Especially ini with my mom ya.
Yeah.
Jadi kayak gue gak tahu sih jelasinnya. Lo gak pernah pipis berdiri kan? Jadi kalau pipis berdiri itu tuh bunyi pipisnya tuh lebih kencang daripada pipis duduk.
Okay.
Karena tekanannya beda dong kan dari atas.
Okay.
Anyway,
Your mom.
my mom, she judge suara pipis gue.
Astaga. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Mothers, they will judge. You breathe incorrectly, and she will chew you
Kalau
out for the next 1
misalnya ada
hour.
hal terpaling gak penting yang nyokap gue pernah komentarin tentang gue adalah,
Yeah, the fact that
kamu pipis terus kenceng banget ya suaranya.
oh my god.
Terus gue jadi mikir gimana kalau gue berdiri ya lebih kenceng lagi gak sih suaranya?
Yeah. No, but also it's like, why does it matter to her like what position you take while peeing? Kayak itu urusan, maksudnya kayak itu urusan pribadi gak sih?
Iya kan,
Kayak
cuman
gak usah
maksudnya
sampai
kayak,
nyokap tahu.
iya, tapi nyokap gue segitunya sih.
Yeah, I feel like moms like are just like that in
Exactly.
general though. To be honest, my mom is the exact same way. But tadi what were we talking? What were we? No, and people do know this, right? Like women, females can pee standing up. People do know that, right?
I don't know.
You didn't know that?
No.
No, we can pee
Oh,
standing
iya?
up. Yeah, and we can aim. Iya bisa, beneran,
iya?
beneran.
Bukannya
bisa.
kalau pipis berdiri kayak ngalir ke bawah gitu ya?
Well, the key. Oh my god, I can't believe I'm talking about this. the if any female wants to try this in the shower, I do this.
Okay.
Oh my god, I'm
Tapi
getting.
kalau di
Ini membuka aib banget anjing. If you want to do this, try this in the shower. You have to open your legs wide enough for it to just
going down kan?
going
Tapi
down.
cowok tuh kita bisa kontrol mau sekenceng apa ininya, arahnya.
Oh damn. Okay, that's advanced.
Iya. Now you know.
Okay. All right. I cannot. Ini membuka aib banget gila. Now the whole internet knows that I pee standing up sometimes. Oh my goodness.
I always have a thing with my jaw. Tapi kayak,
jaw?
iya.
What's wrong with your
Kan aku
jaw?
botox kan. Aku botox tiap every 6 months.
Yeah.
Terus aku kadang mikir kayak, ya kayaknya kalau misalnya aku udah operasi rahang tuh kayaknya aku nggak perlu botox. Misalnya seperti itu. Tapi itu hal yang sangat minor karena I can do botox gitu. But when it comes to thing down there, I don't have problems with that, and I always believe that everyone got their own market. So,
for sure. That one I know.
iya kan. Jadi
Oh,
kayak
yeah.
misalnya untuk when it comes to like my transition journey, I think my greatest goal is the breast augmentation. So for now, I don't think I have anything more to be chased for. Tapi kalau misalnya bisa dapat bonus untuk let's say bikin rahang gitu-gitu, ya let's do it. Tapi misalnya for now, kalau dibilang when it comes, tapi kan rahang sendiri, I don't think it has anything with like transition kan. It's just like
It's just-
appearance wise gitu loh.
Yeah, it's just appearance wise. Hold on, real quickly. I wanted to ask, who paid for? Do you pay for your own, like
Yeah.
nabung sendiri, or did your parents help out?
No, my parents never fund me when it comes to my transition journey.
May I ask why?
So
I'm going somewhere with this.
Oh enggak sih, karena aku udah mulai. Oke. Jadi aku came out 2017 as a gay, and then I got their blessing.
Yeah.
Dalam artian kayak walaupun memang belum kayak oke gitu, tapi
Yeah.
lebih kayak okay, now we know.
All right. Yeah.
And then I started waktu itu nyokap gue tuh bilang kayak gini, you can do whatever you want, but you need to know that ketika lo misalnya secara terbuka mengproklamasikan you are a gay kala itu ya, you know that it will be very hard for you to find a proper job and so on. Di situ I said that okay, if I cannot work with anyone, then let me just work independently so that other gay people can work for me.
Yeah.
Kalau aku nggak bisa mendapatkan pekerjaan yang layak, biarkan aku menjadi orang yang membuka lapangan pekerjaan itu untuk teman-teman yang seperti aku. And then I started working doing social media stuffs in 2018. 2018 orang tua aku tuh udah berhenti membiayai aku selain uang kuliah aku. Jadi dari kala itu sampai hari ini, kan aku udah gak kuliah kan. Jadi aku udah gak dibiayain sama sekali.
Okay.
Jadi when it comes to my transition journey, itu emang udah bagian dari hidup aku setelah aku udah stop dibiayain.
Oh, okay. So the reason why your parents didn't fund it is just simply because like at that point you're already an adult. Ekspektasinya itu kamu harus bisa menafkahkan diri sendiri dong.
Iya,
bisa financially
dan more
independent
than that, karena itu juga menjadi sebuah pembuktian bahwa with my own choice I can still make a living out of it.
I see. No, because I had a debate with somebody. I was talking about this topic, like if you had a trans child, would you help them pay for gender affirmation surgery?
Tapi sebenarnya I believe my father would love to see.
Would have.
Iya.
Okay.
Karena dia kemarin intinya sebelum I did the breast augmentation, dia juga sempat kayak, jadi dia tuh takut banget karena aku bayar sendiri, jadi takut banget aku pilih yang murah gitu loh, misalnya seperti itu.
Oh, jangan sampai kayak yang gak bonafik punya gitu ya.
Karena kayak you pay it by yourself, jadi akhirnya you choose the cheapest one.
Yeah,
jadi dia sempat punya consideration itu sih.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I don't know. Yeah, back again to me having this debate with my friend. My friend told me that the reason why he wouldn't, if he had a trans child that needed gender affirmation surgery, itu gender affirmation surgery itu termasuk hormone replacement therapy nggak sih?
It's not a surgery.
But it's gender affirmation. What's the term? There's the term for gender affirmation care. I think that's the girl. I could be so wrong, but pokoknya the hormonal replacement and the surgery. My friend, he was saying that he wouldn't pay for it because that's something that harus kayak itu. I don't like the way that he said it. He said it as if it's a choice that, well, you choose to do these surgeries and to go through hormonal replacement therapy, and so that's a cost that you have to incur on your own. I personally feel like that is very, as a parent, I feel like that borders you being a neglectful parent.
Yeah,
but what do you think?
I think it just depends on the parents
Parent
sih.
aja.
Dan kayak aku tahu pasti semua orang tua punya keadaan ekonomi yang berbeda-beda. Karena nggak usah dia jauh-jauh ngomongin soal the transition gitu loh. I know some parents yang akhirnya nggak membiayai kuliah anaknya gitu loh, misalnya seperti itu.
Oh yeah, that's
Jadi
true.
kayaknya it depends on the parents sih. But for me,
yeah.
well, I'm very blessed because aku udah punya pekerjaan yang layak dan aku bisa membiayai diri aku sendiri gitu loh. Tapi aku tahu sih keluarga aku pasti dengan segala privilege yang kita punya, mereka willing sih untuk membiayai aku kalau aku minta gitu.
Yeah, dan sebenarnya like this is less of a debate about like trans kids and more so a debate on like what is the role of a parent, like what is the responsibility of a parent kan sebenarnya. And I think everybody has different definitions.
Exactly.
Of, like what my job is as a parent. I'm more on the side of if you choose to have children, whether it be adopted children or biological children, you are responsible for their well-being, including their physical well-being and also their mental well-being. And that's why I make the argument that as a parent, if you have a trans child and that getting hormonal replacement therapy or surgery is crucial for their well-being, that is your responsibility.
But you know what, as a transgender, I think what matter the most coming from parents is just simply the love and support. Mungkin kalau misalnya orang tuanya sampai ngebiayain all the transition journey, well, that's just
enak
the
banget.
bonus.
Yeah.
Well, enak banget dan itu bonus aja sebenarnya.
Yeah.
Tapi more than that, when the family can support and accept their son or their daughter for who they are, I think itu sih yang menjadi standar intinya.
Would you say that's the beginning standard?
No, itu apa ya? Itu adalah the bare minimum. Jadi kalau misalnya kamu tadi bilang apakah orang tua harus membiayai the transition stuffs, itu nggak ada standarnya, tergantung orang tuanya lagi. Tapi apa sih yang orang tuanya harus banget lakuin, nggak bisa ditolak gitu?
Yeah, is
to love their son and daughter for who they are.
Another thing that I've been very curious about, especially as somebody who obviously is a cis heterosexual person, the word transphobic. Simply put, how would you define somebody who is transphobic? Because I personally feel like certain words, like for example, like calling somebody a racist person or a transphobic person or a homophobic person, it somewhat, to an extent, feels like these days different people have different definitions of it, of what exactly constitutes being transphobic or racist or homophobic. Apa kayak gitu. So what's your definition of a transphobic person?
People who are simply don't want to interact with me, don't want to work with me, don't want to do things with me just because I am a transgender.
Would you consider somebody transphobic if they viewed you differently compared to your cis counterpart?
Mungkin kalau they see me differently, but they are still... Kita kan nggak bisa ya maksain orang untuk memandang kita dengan cara kita memandang diri kita sendiri.
Yeah.
Tapi kalau misalnya dia memandang kita berbeda, tapi dia tetap ya udah, let's just still work together.
Yeah.
I still see you as a human.
Yeah.
Then I don't consider it as a transphobic. It's just
okay.
that we have different belief. For example, maybe you're a Buddhist, I'm a Christian, just that, and it's totally fine.
Okay.
Because we, of course, have a different views on some things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tapi when it comes to like, they don't even want to see me as a human, simply just because I'm a trans,
right.
Itu transphobic.
I think the difference is just more so, you can see people differently, because actually that is, I feel like we can agree to this. It is true that people are different. Trans women and cis women are different. In the beginning, I was a little bit cautious with that statement because aku punya pengalaman, aku dipanggil transphobic gara-gara aku ngomong begitu.
Okay.
And so I'm like, really? Is that really transphobic? Because I don't treat trans people and cis people any differently, but I do acknowledge the fact that they are different.
In what context?
I feel like, no, so for example, trans women don't have the experience of menstruating or, being able to give birth. That's different, dong. But it doesn't mean that I treat you differently just because you can't have a period.
Tapi pasti abis ini ada yang akan bilang, what about women yang gak bisa melahirkan?
Oh yeah. Of course, like there's also that, and yeah, like it's also, I don't know. I've also thought about it, like to center the conversation of transness, especially for trans women, surrounding pregnancy and menstruation is very bukan aneh, lebih kayak. Kan maksudnya like you said, even cis women don't all have the ability to give birth and to menstruate. So it's just a very weak, I guess, like
statement.
Yeah, it's a very weak statement. It's a very weak point to bring up.
Mungkin lebih kayak ke konteksnya itu, even one trans women to other trans women are different just because we all human are different to one another.
Yeah.
Tapi when the context is like the bigger picture, trans women is different with women.
Mm-hmm.
As if like talking about the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
Saya menurut aku sih jawaban paling diplomatisnya adalah tergantung konteksnya apa.
Yeah.
Iya kan?
I know, and it's the diplomatic answer, but it's also the most accurate answer. Like of course, everything depends on its very specific context. So.
Karena kalau misalnya kita ngomongin the bigger picture, I think trans women is women.
Yeah. Trans women are women. There are two. The way that I will always answer this is that what is a man, what is a woman? There are two different types of men now, and there are two different types of women.
Okay. And you know what, Indah? What I really hope the viewers agree with this episode is that it's totally fine to disagree to agree. Agree to disagree.
Oh yeah, of course.
Tapi gitu loh, kadang yang jadi bom utama dalam setiap interview atau podcast yang ada di negara ini, karena orang tuh ketika misalnya dia nggak setuju sama apa yang let's say the podcaster or the guest delivering, akhirnya jadi debat heboh gitu loh.
Yeah.
Akhirnya tuh dirujak sana sini. Padahal menurut aku yang paling penting itu adalah kayak ya udah, kalau kamu punya pendirian kamu, aku punya pendirian aku, then just go ahead. It's totally fine to live with like different perspective.
Yeah. I feel like I draw the line at like, you can think, you can have whatever opinions, you can feel however way you want. I can't control any of that, right? But just chill and behave. Like, just let people live.
Yeah.
You know, you're entitled to your own opinions. You can rate, you can ask whatever questions, you can have whatever problems with certain ideas and notions. But just as long as jangan sampai titik kamu itu menyakiti orang.
Betul.
Jangan sampai titik kamu merugikan orang. And I feel like that's the bare minimum. And at the same time, it feels like that's so much to ask in this country sometimes. But yeah, gitulah. And I feel like that is it for this episode, you guys. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, please. This is Ian. All her information is down below. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
I've waited for this for so long.
2 years.
Yeah, for like 2 years. That's about it, guys. Bye.